What is up YouTube, and welcome back to another RiftGuides WildRift video. We are finally seeing some changes to the rat. Finally, after ages, we see a buff to the rat. I've glanced through the patch notes already a little bit earlier, so I'm not completely caught off guard when I'm seeing the notes, but there are some kind of things in there that are just absolutely insane. But let's start with the patch rundown actually. WildRift patch 6.2c. For reference, we got a C patch a little bit earlier, but that was an adventure mode only patch, so nothing happens. So that's why we're still in C. This patch we are zeroing in on sharpening some champion identities and adjusting their power curves across all stages of the game, as well as nerfing some champions who have been dominating in the game. Welcome to patch 6.2c. Dearest patch note readers, we've opened the curtains and invited you to the event of this season, the illustrious Crystal Rose Gala. We hope you've enjoyed seeing everyone shine and sparkle, but while this event takes place, we can't help but notice certain champions are on the rift causing mischief, while others seem to need a helping hand. Fear not though readers, for change is in the air. In the latest installment, known as patch 6.2c, the balance of power is being artfully addressed by our developers. We are polishing up some identities, and for those who have been dominating the rift, well, they'll be finding their reign gracefully curtailed. What is this language, man? Come on now. So stretch your thumbs and prepare to lap into a patch of adjustments most fair. Yours truly, the WildRift Balance team. Okay, so we got already that one here. Oh, scaling champions like Nasus Senna. Kalista is not a scaling champion. Since when is Kalista a scaling champion? Good to know. Jinx and Twitch are getting a lift, so you can expect more late game bite from your favorite dog in the Baron lane and some extra incitement from Jinx when she naps those kills. We're also making sure champions that are supposed to be strong in the early game, like Jayce Vi and Kha'Zix early game? I think they're talking about mid game, not early game, are packing enough punch so they can successfully jumpscare their foes in the jungle. Lastly, we're also nerfing Ambessa, Corki, and Kayle since they've been dominating the rift. That is so funny. It is so funny to me. I've played this, and against any human, you just get absolutely stomped in lane. There's nothing you can do because your champion cannot protect itself. It's just funny because people, they just don't know how to play the game. It's just how it goes. I'm sorry. Anyway, let's talk about the champion changes. Nasus Siphoning Strike. When using this ability to defeat champion, large minions, and large monsters, you gain up to 14 stacks right now. That's a 4 increase compared to before. Yeah, well, Nasus was not bad, but it's going to be very interesting looking at this scaling-wise in the near future. I don't really mind this particularly because it doesn't push him over the edge or anything, so it's whatever, it's fine. But the next one is a huge deal breaker. We have a Senna buff. All of you know that I advocate for Senna being absolutely batshit broken for a long time, but people just refuse to actually play her and play her well. So what is Riot doing? Since the player base is a little bit struggling with Senna, we see a base attack damage increase from 52 to 54, and if that wasn't enough, we are also adding 30 more base health here. And don't worry, that's not even everything we have. We have the passive buff for Absolution, so attack damage increase per misstack from 1 to 1.5. So you gain 4 of these stacks, and instead of 4 AD, you have 5 AD. How insane is that? Let's just imagine you have 100 AD, then you have 125 AD, and your champion gains crit passively, so you can pretty much imagine what happens. Now imagine you go full damage Senna. Yeah, you just absolutely one-tap people. Amazing. Can't wait for this champion to be absolutely bonkers. Or, well, you probably won't even notice because people will just, well, die because they suck at spacing. But still, this champion is absolutely bonkers, so you have this one that needs to be on your radar. Jayce. Well, that's a very interesting choice because Jayce early game was already good enough, but the problem was he just fell into a slump mid to late game, unless he was hyper accelerated. So what is Riot Games doing? Riot Games is omega buffing his early game, and not only that, they're buffing his jungle. So we have a 4 AD buff, which is absolutely insane for a champion like Jayce. Not only this, we also see the bonus damage from his first ability getting 5% increase when it goes through the acceleration gate. We see the monster modifier change from 50 to 80%, and the same thing also on the first ability, melee form. And on top of that, we have the second ability also as a 20 damage buff here. In total, So Jayce in the jungle got a lot better with this, because yeah, it's just insane buffs in combination. And Jayce in lane also got a lot better, who is probably going to stat check you now. And I hate to say it again, like, since we are buffing champions and champions again and champions again and champions again and rarely nerfing champions. So let's hold up, let's briefly look at this. So we have 1 buff, 2 buffs, 3 buffs. This is the 4th buff. So we are buffing Vi again, by the way. 3-second charge duration change in early game and 10-second earlier cooldown, which makes this champion even better. Like, this champion has not been the same compared to, for example, Aatrox, Ambessa, Lee Sin, and Viego. But instead of nerfing these 4, we are simply buffing all the other champions. So this champion now got a lot better. Not only this, the next champion gets a lot better, because take a look, we have Kha'Zix, 54 to 58 AD, and you know what happens when Kha'Zix has AD? He does a lot of damage, especially if you take a look into his Q ability and how much scaling it has and how much damage it does. And not to make it even worse, we see a 0.5 second cooldown reduction change here, which on paper is obviously not that much, but it's his most used ability. It's his main ability, while also increasing his base damage, which is then further increased by isolation damage. So he gets a base AD buff, and his main damage is getting another buff again, which is a direct buff to his very early game, like let's again. If these are the stages of the game, like early, mid, and late, Kha'Zix is the weakest in this stage, and depending on what happens and how the group, like how the comms work, he can be really bad here, but he still has the capabilities of playing. But in this early phase, he's the weakest. So they're omega buffing his early game for whatever reason, because he can't compete with Lee Sin and Ambessa and the other top tier champions. So instead of nerfing the other champions, we are buffing this champion again. So we will eventually reach a point at which Kha'Zix will be able to simply stat check Lee Sin. It's just a matter of time, it will happen. And then we need another durability patch. Okay, again, champion got a lot better, still can't deal with Lee Sin, for example. Still isn't the same G-tier champion as the other G-tier champions, but got a lot better again. Crazy. Kalista. What do we have here? By the way, Kalista still misses the promised base AD changes. So yeah, this buff here is nice, but what about actually giving us the base AD buffs you actually promised? Base attack damage, or attack damage per level, sees a 0.5 increase, and the damage per stack here sees a significant increase the moment we hit level 2 on this ability. So the earliest level 3 or level 4, because then from 16 we go to 20 per spear. And the scaling also is a little bit higher, obviously, in the early stages, 34 to 36. But it's still, if you compare it directly, on level 2, the most benefits roll in. Like, then you see the hugest benefit here. Again, Riot Games is really going crazy, because Kalista is a numbers champion. This champion is either terrible or broken, because you cannot really find the middle ground. And the issue is, her early game was so weak that she cannot play the game at all, because she will not have enough damage to snowball in any capacity. And then later on, she lacks the gold, or rather the funds, to get close enough to mages fast enough to survive. And yeah, so with this, that might be a little bit counteracted. I'm still curious to see how much of this will change her laning phase. It improves her level 3, level 4 of first base all in by a lot. But she probably still doesn't have the power for that level 1, level 2, as the enemy makes a huge mistake, super all in, that she used to have. Jinx. Jinx is seeing another buff here. Her base AD is getting an increase from 4 to 4.5, and the attack speed per level sees a huge increase by 0.5. This here is a lot more than you believe it is, because this attack speed per level, obviously, if I'm not mistaken, scales with the entirety of the attack speed you buy. So this is more. And what are they buffing? Again, if you look at the game here, 3 different phases, they're buffing Jinx scaling, so this phase here is still relatively weak due to the changes. Like level 1, she's really good thanks to rocket all attacks, then she falls into a slump, and then she comes back later. So they're putting some emphasis on the scaling. Twitch. Base stats 180 per level, that's quite huge. The mana cost of his third ability is being reduced by 15 here in total. It's the same across all ranks. The bonus AD ratio per stack sees a 12% increase, no ability power increase here. And the ultimate ability also sees a 10-second cooldown change in the early game, 5 seconds on rank 2, and then late game it's still the same. But we see a 10 AD buff here. So we have 15 levels, 15 AD, and 10 here. So we have 25 on a crit damage, a crit champion with higher ratios now. This is a sizable buff, a very sizable buff, but I don't think it makes the difference for his very bad early game. Because, I'm not even drawing free. Okay, because Twitch here was bad, Twitch here was still arguably bad, and now Twitch was really good. It's like similar to Jinx, yeah? Because you then have access to so much range and so much damage that you're actually a champion. I think he'll be better. I still don't think you'll play this champion without an enchanter, like Lulu, Milio. But then again, if you play it with a Milio, there's just better champions you can play. Ambessa. 62 AD to 58, the base damage of the passive goes down from 14 to 5 on level 1, and the cooldown of a first ability, that is first ability, right? Yeah. Is going up from 10 to 12. This is a sizable nerf. This would be most noticeable in the top lane. This will slow down jungle clear as well. Ambessa has been overperforming, but top lane Ambessa doesn't deserve this. Like, top lane Ambessa doesn't deserve this nerf. Jungle Ambessa does deserve this nerf. So, I really hope in the future that we are going to see a top lane Ambessa buff that doesn't influence jungle. Because this champion in jungle is 15 times, billion times more toxic than the top lane. This might have ruined top lane Ambessa from being a good pick into like, yeah, you can, but you really shouldn't. And for jungle, I need to see the clear speed and how much damage it still is. But obviously the clear speed should be impacted in a decent amount, like at least like 7 seconds probably. But even then she was relatively fast. So I don't think she's dead, she's weaker, but Riot, if Riot tried to nerf the jungle Ambessa with this, I don't think it's enough. But at the same time, they just headshot the top lane Ambessa. Kayle. What do we have here? Base AD -2, attack scaling -0.5, and the third ability AD ratio -5%. So we are just killing AD Kayle and forcing people to go back to AP Kayle. Kayle was not a problem champion. Kayle was actually pretty weak. Doesn't matter if the Chinese statistics show that she had high win percentage. It doesn't matter. Like, if my percentage is based on master players, then my percentages will always be absolutely crazy because, well, people don't punish, people don't play wave, and these balance, like, the balancing here is simply around the community's perception and just problem champions that, according to their frameworks, have too high win percentage. Like, in reality, this champion is not OP. Like, that's just how it is. I hate to tell you, this champion is not OP. The moment you play against good players, you just absolutely get ran over. But, like, it doesn't really matter. If you wanted to min-max your win rates, etc., then you would never pick Kayle in the first place. So this change here is just meant to nerf AD Kayle. And I think later on we have some AD item changes that even hurt Kayle more on top of that. Corki, finally a Corki nerf, nice. Basic attack and Spellblade, 20% bonus damage to 16%. His Q, 120% to 110. This gem is still broken. It's absolutely still broken. It's still blind pick material. Like, if this is, like, his tier before, it's now, like, you know, slightly below. Like, you know, it's just a little bit less. There's still, like, other champions here, and he's, like, so far above everyone else because, well, it's still Corki champion. So hold up, we have, let me quickly count, we have 1 buff, 2 buff, 3 buff, 4 buff, 5 buff, 6 buff, 7 buff, 8 buff, 8 buff, 3 nerf. 8 buffs, 3 nerfs. And don't forget, most of the nerfs are very questionable. Or rather, are they enough? Let's put it this way. Item changes. Hullbreaker, this item was not built. Because, yeah, just doesn't do enough. 580, 1%. Every 5th to every 4th attack deals bonus damage. The thing is, does this item do enough? I still don't think it does enough. I really don't think it does enough. Hullbreaker is a pretty cool item to pick up in a niche scenario in which you get Baron and further want to amplify your minions' powers. That's like a niche scenario I think is pretty good. But outside of this, I think this version of Hullbreaker is not good enough. Tier of the Goddess. With the accelerated game time, updating tier items is not a bad choice. So we have 3 triggers in 12 seconds to 3 triggers in 10 seconds. That makes it a bit faster. Maximum mana increase when mana is spent from 15 to 18, and the trigger time is also 3 to 12 to 3 to 10. The same happens to Archangels. This is to incentivize champions, or the same happens also to Winter's Approach here. This is to further incentivize champions to actually look into these items over other choices, because these items become more and more forgotten. Even though they're a pretty good choice, like let's put it into perspective. Let's say you have Corki, and there's Mana Immune here, but at the same time you have Bloodthirster here. So you'd obviously take BT because it fixes your survivability. You can stat check, but then you run out of mana. But the item is so overpowered that you would happily do so. On the other hand, like you have Orianna, and then you have Luden here, and then you have Archangel here. And Luden is just so much more overpowered that you'd rather take the immediate power increase rather than the late power increase and defensiveness from the Archangel that comes later with like Rabadon, because then Archangel really goes crazy. Like Archangel Conk combination is really insane. But they're trying to incentivize looking to other itemization that also makes you, in this instance, for example, Mage is tankier. For Corki, it finally fixes his mana issue again to make these more appealing. So it's definitely worth giving a shot again in the next patch. Sunfire Aegis sees a 75 armor reduction, but we gain 75 HP reduction, but we gain 20 armor, and we see some item build path change. This is quite the huge buff, because normally you would not have armor on this item, and losing 75 HP is quite a good trade for 20 armor, because you have to think about, it's not your only source of HP, you have base HP on top, boots HP, etc. And that having this armor is going to make you a lot more durable. It also helps you if you have like niche cases where you need magical defensive boots, but want some armor at the same time. Like for example, a Mumu. Where Mumu had Searing Crown before, or Searing Crown as an item option, Sunfire is like, this is now more into the idea of Searing Crown. So you have like Murktread, Searing Crown, Murktread, Sunfire. These options are definitely viable. What do we have here? Bloodthirster. 100 gold more expensive, and you get minus resistances here. Instead of 20, you go down to 10. So Bloodthirster has been released OP. This is the 3rd release of Bloodthirster in which it was broken. They've nerfed it twice subsequently, and the item will still be built. The item will still be built because there's simply no real alternative on item 1. Like, your alternative would be here. Like, you compare these here, you have BT, and then you have Collector. Collector is the highest damage option, but BT is the safest option. And you usually default to the safer option, and then for your second item you can still make the choice of then going for BT or Collector. Just depends. Unless your champions need other items like PD, Blaster, or whatever. But just generally speaking, BT will still be built even though it's getting toned down. And I'm curious to see if they rework it again. Because still in the form it is in the game, it will still be very, very powerful. Because it just fixes your issues of dying. For example, as I said earlier with Corki, you have Corki BT first item, you just jump on people and fight. And then you outstat them because of the shield. So yeah. I'm happy to see changes to Twitch, Jinx, Kalista. Nasus I don't really mind, but all the other changes I'm really questioning. Like, I know we're buffing and nerfing around percentages on the Chinese server, but come on now. Like, really. Personally, for me, it doesn't matter if they buff or nerf Kayle, because the champion, if you face it, unless it's in the jungle department, where it's more of a team effort to punish, depending on if they're in duo or trio queue, it just doesn't matter because you just run over the champion anyway. But I'm happy to see a Corki nerf, let's put it this way. This was definitely more than overdue for a long, long, long time. But you know what's also overdue? Where's my Riven nerf? Where's my Viego nerf? Where's my Aatrox nerf? Hello? Where are they? Where's my Nautilus nerf? Where? Where are they nerfs? Why are these champions not getting nerfed? Where's my Lee Sin? Oh, wait, because on the Chinese API they have negative win rates because they're not good champions, yeah? Definitely not linked to player base issues. Anyways, sorry for the rant. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm trying to be honest with my feedback here. Not trying to lie to you. Oh my god, this champ is so broken now because it gained 2% AD Or, oh my god, look, he got a 3% scaling, this champ is absolutely broken now. No, I'll be honest with you when it comes about that one, so you can always rely on me for at least my honest feedback. If I'm wrong, happens, I'll happily admit if I was wrong. And we see each other for more content very soon. Bye bye, take care.